Thanks, Tina. And Dina reminded me one thing that I didn't mention earlier, and I want to make sure is clear. The First Forward workshop that occurs in June, there is no fee associated with attending. So no fee, and then we also provide you with a small travel stipend to offset some of your cost of attending. We try to make that an opportunity for everyone to attend that needs to attend without it having a large impact. We all know that the budgets are tight, but happy to talk with you all more about that. If finances are something that are really concerning you about applying for First Forward, please let us know, and we're happy to chat with you about that because this is not intended to be something that weighs heavily within your budget structures. So the number one question we receive about First Forward is, what are you looking for in an applicant? And so I wanted to give you a little bit of insight, but I also wanted to reinforce what Dina mentioned earlier. First generation efforts look different at every campus. And I'm not going to tell you that what's happening out with the wonderful Cardinal First program at North Central is any better or different than what's happening over at El Camino College in California versus what's happening at the University of Florida, which is a gigantic institution. And so knowing that every institution is kind of in a different place with the first generation conversation. However, there are a few things from last year's cohort that I'll share with you that we saw as strong components of an application. These were institutions that had identified a point person or had a steering committee or a working group of institutional colleagues who were thinking about first gen. They were starting to think outside of just maybe their own office or one program, and were starting to do collaborative networked efforts. That there was some level of established student programming, whether that be mentoring programs, living learning communities, mentoring, lots of different opportunities that student programs can look like. And it might actually be your TRIO programs as well. And we love to see TRIO programs as a part of the application. So don't forget, if you have TRIO programs, to include them in this work. We love to see institutions that are collecting some data, that maybe you've gone through the process of identifying your first gen definition within your community, you're collecting some data about those students, maybe you're trying to get into the habit of using that definition consistently. We know it's all a work in progress, but that's great, but maybe you're at least working toward it, collecting and sharing some data. We love to see if you are doing some intentional work with your admissions materials, your orientation materials, your websites that are denoting first gen in some way, parent and family efforts around first gen. You're starting to work in those spaces. Many institutions now have social media platforms or websites around first gen. We love seeing those in applications. Opportunities to engage faculty across your community or staff, whether that be getting your faculty in the habit of saying that they're first gen on the first day of classes, to having them involved in programming and mentoring efforts. So engaging faculty. And then if your institution is this advanced, we would particularly love to see it if you are doing any kind of faculty and staff professional development within your communities, talking about what does it mean to teach first gen students or serve first gen students. But again, it is not a requirement for you to be doing all of these things. It is not a requirement to be doing things outside of this. We see really a gamut of opportunities when it comes to the application. I'm going to go ahead and answer a question that might be on your mind too, which is, how many institutions are you taking this year? And we'll be really honest with you. When we started First Forward a little over a year ago, we said, maybe we'll get 20 institutions. And then we said, okay, it seems like people are interested. Maybe we'll get 40. And then we received a very large number of applications. And we don't share publicly that number, but it was a significant number of applications. And we whittled away at that number, and we finally got down to 80 institutions that we thought really fit the criteria of being First Forward. And so we don't set out each year to say we are only going to recognize 40 or we're only going to recognize 60. We really try to create a cohort of institutions who we think are ready for this work. We're looking for institutions who have some foundational understanding of first gen, you're doing some things in your communities, and you're ready to engage with other campuses. We did receive a number of applications last year from institutions who thought First Forward was a way for them to begin their first generation efforts, that we were going to teach them from step one on how to build a first gen program. And that's not really where we are with First Forward. We're looking with institutions that have a little bit under their belt and are really looking to scale and grow. We have lots of other ways within the center that we can help institutions who maybe aren't quite ready yet for First Forward. But we also do work with institutions who aren't selected for First Forward to help get them ready. And so please think about that, and we're happy to talk with you all about that a little bit more over time as well. But hopefully that gives you a little insight into some of what we're looking for, but we're happy to always answer questions as well.